Okay, so while we're at it, I'm going to mention one other thing that you can do to kind of better manage your computer and your PC, as well as the components that are plugged into it, and that is disk management. Now, I want you guys to go over to Start, and you have to be an administrative user to do this. So if you're not an admin on your computer, you won't be able to access or even search for this setting. But if you start typing disk management, I don't know why it comes up like this, create and format hard disk partitions, but if you click it and open it, you'll see this box is called disk management. So you could also search for creating and formatting hard disk partitions. And what you're seeing here is every disk that is plugged into your computer, right? As well as all the partitions for it. And this is really important to understand. And again, be careful with this because it could be quite easy for you to accidentally do something irreversible here. So if you're not familiar with managing hard disk partitions, you might not want to mess around with this. So the first thing to understand is that up here on the left-hand side, this isn't actually the number of disks that you have. These are the volumes that you've created. So the actual number of disks that are physically plugged into your computer are down here. So in this case, I've got disk 0, which is technically the first one. I've got disk 1 and disk 2. So I have 3 different devices plugged into my computer as storage units. I happen to know that disk 1 and disk 2, because they're both 1 terabyte, are Samsung NVMe SSDs. And that this 2 terabyte one is a Samsung SSD, but it's just the old-fashioned SATA one, so it's a little bit slower, but still very fast. This is the one that I use as my storage device. Now, when Windows is installed, either by you or by the company that's provided the computer, it will typically create a few partitions on your primary drive. Something that should be clear is that C drive, by default, is where your Windows gets installed. Or rather, I should say, wherever you install your Windows, that drive becomes drive C. I don't know why that is, it just is. So this right here, this volume here, is actually C. However, you can see that my C drive is on this same drive as these 2 partitions here. And as you see, when I click on each of these partitions, it shows me which one I'm looking at here. These are automatically created by Windows when Windows was installed on this drive. So don't mess around with this, with C drive, because of course, if you delete these or do anything with these, you're basically erasing all your data. If you were to buy a new hard drive from the computer shop and plug it into your computer, it might not show up under this PC. If you were to go here and look for it, expecting it to just be a new hard drive right here, you might not see it. And that is because you need to initialize the disk. So you would need to come to disk management and you'd see it right here. So it would come up as a new disk and it would all be blacked out. So it would say unallocated. You see how the black is unallocated and the blue is primary partition? So if it's unallocated, you can right click it and click new volume, essentially. So it doesn't give me this option here because it's, this one is ready, but you'd have to first activate the disk essentially to tell Windows that, hey, yep, this is a disk I want to use. And then you can divide it up into as many partitions as you want. Personally, I don't use partitions other than the default ones that Windows needs, simply because for me, I have secondary and tertiary hard drives to store all of my other data on. So for me, I've got my C drive where I install all my programs. I've got my D drive where I actually put all my files and backups and folders that I'm working on. And then I've got my big 2 terabyte drive, and I use this only for video files because I do a lot of 4K video editing. And so having the files on my computer is much better for video editing. But yeah, once again, I just wanted to show you guys this interface to explain a little bit how this is where you need to go if you wanted to set up a new drive that you've just added to your computer. It's also where you can go to manage, adjust your hard drive partition. So if I wanted to delete this partition, you can go in and extend volumes or shrink volumes. So extending volumes will basically fill out the whole disk space with volume. Shrinking volumes will basically cut it into different positions. You can also delete the entire thing, which once again will erase everything on your hard drive, so be very careful. And you can also change the drive letter and path. So if you want D to be E for some reason, if you want E to be F or X, whatever, you can do all of that from here. And that will stick permanently. You can change the name of it. You can change the file path, the extension, this little code here with the letter. So all of that can be done from here. Yeah, and that pretty much sums it up for disk management. And I think in the next video, we're going to talk about the task manager.